It was a beautiful, clear Tuesday morning. September 11th, 2001, dawned like any other in New York City. The sun glinted off the skyscrapers and people hurried to work. But this ordinary day would soon transform into one of unimaginable horror. At 8:46 a.m. Eastern Time, the world changed forever. American Airlines Flight 11, en route from Boston to Los Angeles, crashed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. The impact, between the 93rd and 99th floors, sent shockwaves through the city and beyond. The world watched in disbelief as smoke and debris billowed from the gaping hole in the iconic skyscraper. The immediate reaction was confusion. Was it an accident? A terrible malfunction? News crews rushed to the scene, broadcasting the unfolding disaster live on television. First responders, including firefighters and police officers, raced towards the burning building, their courage a beacon in the face of unimaginable fear. Then, just 17 minutes later, at 9:03 a.m., a second plane, United Airlines Flight 175, also from Boston and bound for Los Angeles, slammed into the South Tower of the World Trade Center. This time, the impact occurred between the 77th and 85th floors. The world watched in horror. This was no accident. America was under attack. The second impact confirmed everyone's worst fears. This was a deliberate and coordinated attack. The images of the burning towers etched into the minds of millions worldwide became a chilling symbol of vulnerability. But the horror was far from over. Two more hijacked planes were still in the air, their terrifying trajectories unknown. At 9:37 a.m., a third plane, American Airlines Flight 77, which had departed from Dulles International Airport outside Washington, D.C., crashed into the west side of the Pentagon in Arlington, Virginia. The impact, which occurred on the ground and first floors, caused a partial collapse and ignited a raging fire. The Pentagon, the very heart of American military might, had been breached. Meanwhile, the fourth and final hijacked plane, United Airlines Flight 93, which had taken off from Newark International Airport, also headed towards Washington, D.C. However, this flight would take a different course. The passengers and crew, aware of the attacks on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon, fought back against the terrorists. Their heroic actions prevented the plane from reaching its intended target, believed to be the U.S. Capitol building or the White House. At 10:03 a.m., Flight 93 crashed into a field near Shanksville, Pennsylvania. As the nation reeled from the attacks on the Pentagon and in Shanksville, the world held its breath, watching the burning towers in New York City. The collapse of the South Tower, at 9:59 a.m., just 56 minutes after the second impact, sent a colossal cloud of dust and debris cascading through the streets of Lower Manhattan. The collapse of the North Tower followed at 10:28 a.m., after burning for 102 minutes. The collapse of both towers created massive dust clouds that engulfed Lower Manhattan, turning day into night for those in the vicinity. The collapse of the towers and the ensuing debris field caused catastrophic damage to surrounding buildings, including St. Paul's Chapel, a historic church that miraculously survived the collapse despite being only 1 block away. The attacks on the Pentagon and in Shanksville, while overshadowed by the enormity of the World Trade Center collapse, were no less devastating. The Pentagon attack left a gaping hole in the building's west side, claiming the lives of 125 people, including military personnel and civilian employees. In Shanksville, Pennsylvania, the crash of United Airlines Flight 93 into a reclaimed coal strip mine left a smoldering crater. The heroism of the passengers and crew who fought back against the terrorists prevented an even greater tragedy. The intended target of Flight 93 remains unknown, but it is believed to have been either the U.S. Capitol building or the White House in Washington, D.C. The world soon learned that the attacks had been orchestrated by Al-Qaeda, an Islamic terrorist group led by Osama bin Laden. Bin Laden, a Saudi Arabian-born militant, had declared war on the United States, citing U.S. support for Israel, the presence of U.S. troops in Saudi Arabia, and sanctions against Iraq as grievances. The 9/11's attacks were the culmination of years of planning and preparation by Al-Qaeda. The 19 hijackers, primarily from Saudi Arabia, had infiltrated the United States in the months leading up to the attacks. They had received flight training and had meticulously planned the logistics of their operation. The 9/11 attacks sent shockwaves throughout the United States and the world. The attacks were the deadliest on American soil since the bombing of Pearl Harbor in 1941, and they triggered a global war on terror. President George W. Bush declared a war against terrorism and vowed to hunt down those responsible. The United States, with international support, launched military operations in Afghanistan and Iraq, targeting al-Qaeda and other terrorist groups. The U.S. also implemented enhanced security measures at home and abroad, including the creation of the Transportation Security Administration, or TSA, to improve airport security. The 9/11 attacks had a profound impact on the United States and the world. In the aftermath of the attacks, the nation came together in a spirit of unity and resilience. Americans mourned the victims, supported the families of those who were lost, and honored the first responders who risked their lives to save others. The process of rebuilding began almost immediately. At Ground Zero, the site of the World Trade Center collapse, the monumental task of clearing the rubble and debris took months. The design and construction of a new World Trade Center complex, including the One World Trade Center Tower, became a symbol of hope and renewal. The 9/11 attacks continue to shape the world today. The attacks led to increased security measures at airports and other public places, as well as enhanced surveillance and intelligence gathering by governments around the world. The attacks also sparked debates about the balance between security and civil liberties, as well as the nature of terrorism and the role of the United States in global affairs. The 9/11 Memorial and Museum, located at Ground Zero, stands as a poignant tribute to the victims and a reminder of the enduring impact of that tragic day. The museum's exhibitions explore the events of 9/11, their historical context and their continuing significance. Each year on September 11th, the nation pauses to remember the victims and honor their memory. The legacy of 9/11 is complex and multifaceted. The attacks expose the vulnerability of even the most powerful nation to acts of terrorism. They also demonstrated the resilience of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable tragedy. The events of 9/11 continue to shape the world today, influencing everything from global politics and security policies to individual perceptions of risk and security. The 9/11 attacks were a watershed moment in history, marking the end of the post-Cold War era and ushering in a new era defined by the threat of global terrorism. The attacks serve as a reminder of the importance of vigilance, unity, and the enduring power of the human spirit to overcome adversity.